And welcome to my private bunk aboard the Navicular Star on the quayside at Den Helder. Well, it's been an unusual and a very good night's sleep, but now it's time to go home. So I return to Den Helder's functional little terminus station to catch my ride out. Now, my eventual rail destination in the Netherlands will be Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. But we've got some time to investigate a little bit of Dutch station architecture before that happens. Anyway, although there's still 25 minutes until departure, my Worm set is already waiting on the platform. So I think we've got some time for a walkthrough of the train. Downstairs, second class has some pretty comfortable looking seats. The blue textile moquette is now looking, well, a bit tired, but they're mostly good. Legroom is decent and there's overhead luggage bins too. The carriage ends have pop-up seats with additional homegrown decoration. Past the builder's plate, there's some more blue seating. And although there's not room for luggage racks, there is some space behind the seats. Back downstairs, and the first class saloon is similar to second, except now we have the red leather effect seats, and these remind me a lot of the first class seats on the Belgian I-11 Corail stock. Anyway, I'm going to go upstairs so that when we set off I'll be able to see those bulb fields again. With a fuller seat tour, this highlights a small recline and an under-seat European plug socket. There's some coat hooks above and a mini bin underneath the small table. And the windows are only grubby rather than filthy, so I'll take that as a win. And good morning from sat on the train here at Den Helder. So what am I doing today? Well, what I'm doing later today is I'm going to fly home from Schiphol direct to Exeter. But that's another story. First question is, let's get from Den Helder to the airport. Well, actually, this train is going to Schiphol Airport. But if I take it all the way, I'm going to get there a long time too soon, because actually my plan this morning and a little of this afternoon is to stick to the western edge of this part of the Netherlands. So I'm going to go to Castricum and then down to Haarlem and then Leiden and then track back up to Schiphol. And really it's about seeing what trains we get, how it goes, because it's a Sunday, but actually having a look at some of the stations on the way. So I've had a sort of pre-check on them and they look quite interesting. So let's see the different flavours of the different stations. That's been kind of one of the whole flavours of this trip around the Netherlands actually, and earlier than that Belgium, was actually seeing the different stations, the different station architecture. So we'll continue that by doing a few train hops down this western side of the Netherlands until we finally get back to Schiphol. So come along, we'll see how it goes. Despite the fact it's been sat here so long, we still managed to head out 4 minutes late. Still, that's no big deal to me on this lazy Sunday morning. Looking out of the westerly window gives a much better impression of all the development around Den Helder South. And then we're straight into the first set of bulb fields. And after travelling into Den Helder yesterday, I'm sure ready for some more bulb field spotting. Just like it was yesterday when I came north, Anna Palofna is a crossing point for the northbound and southbound Worms. It sure is a lovely morning. That water looks so blue. So we'll skip along this line as quickly as we can because my previous video did talk a little about the places along the way. Safe to say, though, that every train ride in the Netherlands reminds me that the Dutch have a very close and symbiotic relationship with water. And it's time to recross the Balbrug, and this time we see the Abel Tasman, which is now the home of the local sea cadets. And we're back into Alkmaar. First Alkmaar Nord, and then soon afterwards into Alkmaar's main station, which features quite a lot of sprinter units in the sidings. Now I could probably change trains here, but I will continue to Castricum. So, about an hour into the trip, I reached the station of Castricum, where I plan to change for a train to Haarlem. And off goes our Worm on its way to the airport, but I'll stay here at this very modern little station. Indeed, the Dutch seem to like building stations here. The first one came with the railway in 1867, and then there were rebuilds in 1912 and 1967 before the one we see today, which dates from 2021. Right, time to get back on the platform. Here's the train coming in, and it's an NS Class 2400 4-car Sprinter EMU. Now, these were all built in the Netherlands by Bombardier between 2007 and 2012 to work just these kinds of local services. There's a small first-class section, but it isn't very luxurious. Even so, it's nice to try out a ride on one of these trains. Beverwijk has lines branching off here to a major Tata Steel facility, which is on the waterfront. But we'll go under the water through this tunnel. The stations at Zandpoort, north and south, and then Bloemendaal mark our last 3 stops before the train finally swings eastbound and into Haarlem station. And I immediately note that Haarlem has no epithet. It's not Haarlem Centraal or Haarlem Centrum. It's just Haarlem. Our little sprinter is soon on its way, and we're left to stand and gaze at the train shed of yet another remarkable station. Well, I'd usually step outside to start a station tour with the exterior, but I'm so taken with this Art Nouveau look under the train shed, I just want to explore it more. Now, this is actually Haarlem's 3rd station. The first one was built in 1839 to service the first ever Dutch railway that ran from here to Amsterdam. That railway was a great success, so the original wooden structure was replaced by another built in a neoclassical style in 1842. However, this Art Nouveau beauty, designed by Dirk Margadon, was built between 1906 and 1908. I'm guessing this wonderful cabin is where the station master and maybe the signallers would control operations. The white and blue glazed bricks and the illustrated tiles are a delight. This one celebrates the railway's centenary in 1939. You know, I can't show you it all, so you'll just have to come and visit for yourself. And remember, this isn't a museum, it's a working station. Oh look, one of the waiting rooms is open, so let's go have a nosy around. It seems a little Spartan for a first-class waiting room, but of course, we've no idea what it would have looked like in 1908. Mind you, there are radiators for heating. It's time to step outside, and so I'm dropping into this lovely underpass at the western end of the station. Again, there's lovely blue and yellow tiling on the walls and the ceiling. This is fabulous. In fact, it feels a little like the underpass at GWR's Cardiff Central station over in the UK. As always, my Interrail pass gets me straight through the ticket barriers, and now we're outside, and this western end will open out to the bus stands. So I'll take a short walk along the street to the actual main entrance, which is sited towards the eastern end of the train shed. The twin towers over the archway don't actually match, which is somehow charming. and the entrance reflects more simplicity than, say, Groningen, which had been completed 12 years earlier. And as we enter, there's a comparatively modest concourse, but with some lovely art depicting industrious Dutch people driving the wealth of the nation. Oh, and there's also some wonderful stained glass. Anyway, I think I'd better get back on the platform because I think Johnny wants a word. Well, Haarlem, eh? What an amazing station this is. And there seemed to be some kind of fun run or sort of major half marathon or something going on. Trains leaving in that direction, full of people in running kit, even with numbers and stuff. So hopefully they're having a good time today in this lovely weather, running somewhere. But wow. I hope VoiceOver Man's been giving you the history of this absolutely stunning station. It really is amazing. And I love all the beautiful glazed tiles, or at least glazed bricks. They're just amazing, beautifully finished, and of course stuff like that almost lasts forever, so you can keep it original, just give it a polish and a clean and it looks as good as new. Right, so I've got about 10 minutes here now, and then I'm off on the 1207 to Leiden, and let's see what Leiden looks like. I think it's a bit more modern. Here's my final train, and it's another Worm. You know, I think one of the enduring stories of this Dutch adventure is that I'm a little less negative about these double-deck workhorses. The ones I've ridden on this trip have been far less creaky, and it really isn't their fault that they never get washed properly. As Leiden is to the south, the train will exit westbound, and then at the approach junction will turn southbound. There's just one intermediate stop for this regional service, so it only takes us about 20 minutes. The Netherlands is a very densely populated country, so these cities are packed in pretty close together by European standards. There's even a few bulb fields still to check out on this short run, with some very nice shades of purple. At the border between North and South Holland, we cross the Leidsvaart, one of the oldest Dutch canals, which was dug in 1657 and was the main trading artery between Leiden and Haarlem until the coming of this railway. And soon we're tracking the canal all the way down to Leiden. And it's certainly wide enough to accommodate a lot of houseboats. As we approach Leiden, I can tell you this has certainly been yet another very pleasant ride on a Worm. And yes, we're soon passing the towns that make up the wider Leiden conurbation. Now, Leiden is an ancient city that boasts a university founded way back in 1575. I certainly plan to return here in the future. This is definitely only a whistle-stop visit today, where I'll only get to see the station before I have to head on out to the airport. And here we are at Leiden Centraal. After Haarlem, this certainly feels very modern. As of course it should, as this station dates from 1996 and it features a lightweight lattice work of steel and glass. Now this is the fourth Leiden station, and it's worth noting that the second Leiden station from 1879 was designed by the same guy who did Haarlem station. In an old photo, I think we can see the similarities. Anyway, I've been distracted by an old electric locomotive over the way, so let's pop up and have a look. And this is an old NS 1800 loco. Looking up on Wikipedia, it appears that it is currently leased to Railforce One, although they don't seem interested in repainting it, do they? Back to the station, and on a day like today, the light and airy feel under the canopy is no doubt exactly what they hoped for when designing it. Light also seeps down to the lower levels, And on the outside, the design definitely reflects the show me your workings style from that period. Across the way is the bus station, but I'm going to step back into the station and grab a sandwich and head on up to the airport. So thank you so much for watching this series of videos from my Belgium and Netherlands trip. Where will I be next week? Well, you'll just have to tune in to find out. But for now, from Leiden, it's goodbye and thanks for watching.